Welcome to Partners in Ministry. I'm your host, Dan Smith, and today I'll be talking with Rob Talbott. Rob is the Executive Director of Josiah White's Quaker Foundation. Welcome, Rob, and thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
Now, in a previous conversation, we explored what the foundation calls a Center for Generosity. Tell us a little bit about just exactly what that is and why you've come up with that idea.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because the truth of the matter is, when I talk to folks, not only in my role here at the foundation, but when I'm helping people with their finances in my other life, people are excited about being generous. The problem is they don't think they got enough money to be generous, and this is something that I think is a great it's a sad thing. And so if we can teach people about how they can use whatever they've got and be more generous, I think we can really be a blessing to folks and show them, a lot of different strategies that it doesn't take more money. What it really takes is knowledge. And when we have that knowledge and if we can share that knowledge at the foundation to be a center of generosity, then we can really make a big impact on the world. And at the foundation, we're all about helping children and families. That's our calling. That's the folks that we've helped since 1851. But as a foundation, now we help organizations who are helping children and families. And if we can help people be more generous, we can make a big impact for kids and families.
Typically, when you talk about the idea of generosity, we all have a tendency to slide right over to the finance side. Are there other ways to be generous that the center helps out with?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that we've got plenty of ways that we can be helpful. I mean, it doesn't take any money to say a prayer for someone. It doesn't take any money for someone to say, "Hey, you should learn about this good thing that's happening over here. Maybe you'd like to get involved." These are things that obviously don't take money. That they're just becoming aware of needs or opportunities for people to get involved. And that's a big reason why we do these interviews, right? We're introducing people to great programs that they could get involved with in different ways. And certainly money is something that probably every mission or ministry could use more of, but lots of volunteers, lots of prayers. Those are great things to be able to do to be generous.
Sure. Yeah, I know one of our passions is to try to connect people with something that they're passionate about in their heart and showing them how they can use their time and their talents to help others that are coming right behind them not make the same mistakes or make the same good choices going forward. And generosity is definitely one of those. Tools are also a very important part of what you do at anything. And I'm sure the Center for Generosity has many of those. If I remember right, one of them is called a donor advised account. What in the world is a donor advised account?
So this is one of several videos we're going to be talking about different strategies, different ways that folks can be generous. And at the foundation, we've got an endowment fund, and that fund is made up of dollars that people have given us through the years that's used to make a difference in ministries that help children and families. And what's really neat as we become a foundation starting back in 2018, there's new opportunities for doing that, and even ways that you can be more personal in your giving, and that you can start a donor advised account at the foundation, and even request where the money would go to, the growth of that account would go to. And maybe you've got something that's really near and dear to your heart that we need to know about at the foundation, that you would say, I'd like to start a donor advised fund where it would give to this ministry that helps children or families and it makes a difference. And in that way, we can all be more generous.
So the person then describe for us a little bit about the process of going from me being a donor to now having that account. Where how does the money transfer stuff work? What's involved in that?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of times people would say, "Well, I don't have enough money to give start a donor advised account. Now, let's just talk about the mechanics of a donor advised account. Basically, what happens is there's assets that go into an account that grows over time, and the growth that comes off of that account then gets donated to nonprofits, to ministries or children's programs or whatever. And so the way that I think is important for people to learn about is sometimes they could help something like that happen um, through ways that didn't necessarily take money out of their pocket, didn't take more money out of their lifestyle. Let's say that they have a property that has appreciated in value, and it's sitting there, and they're saying, well, boy, if I sold that property, I have to pay a lot of taxes. Maybe I'd have to do some improvements to it. Boy, that's going to be a lot of work. I don't know what to do about that. Well, we know how to help you take a piece of property and start a donor advised account with the proceeds. Maybe someone has an inheritance that they'd like to, a parent or a family member had something that was near and dear to their heart, and they would like to start in an donor advised account in their name to carry out some of the wishes and the values of someone that they love, like a memorial account. Maybe somebody has funds that have been sitting in an investment account for decades and decades, and it's appreciated in value, and it's going to be a big tax issue. And they don't really, they think there's only one way to handle that. Well, we know how to handle that in a way that would actually give you a tax write-off and be able to establish a donor advised fund, as well as maybe just get a great gift that you weren't expecting, and you'd like to take some of that and start a donor advised fund. It does take a lot of money. Sometimes people will take and they will, for every birthday in their family, they'll give $20 to their donor advised fund, and over time, that money snowballs and grows and gets interest, and it becomes something that will be there forever. Because when you give money to a donor advised fund, we never spend the corpus. We just take the growth off of it and give it out, so that money will be given for eternity.
So in some ways, it's kind of like a specialized savings account.
Well, certainly. I mean, there are times when I've been at churches where they call it faith promise. Maybe some church folks do that, where they say, "Well, I'm going to promise to give a certain amount of money this year by surprise funds that come into my life." And I wasn't expecting to get that tax return, or I ended up getting given this, and I didn't, or I sold that, and I didn't plan on that, and so you can take whatever you'd like, start growing, or investing into this donor advised account that will last forever. I think the interesting thing is, if you're interested, you could even establish one to have maybe your kids learn how to learn about giving. And we have names for these, but let's just say it's just a donor advised account where you would establish it, and then you would put your heirs in charge of deciding where the money goes to when you pass away. And if they're interested in doing that, they can learn about generosity in that way, and they can become a part of maybe some of the heart that you have for giving, that you'd like to instill in your kids in a way that didn't even necessarily cost them anything, but it was a way for them to kind of step into this realm of generosity.
Sure. I know one of the things that I was faced with when I turned 65 was the reality that there's going to come a time when I'm not going to be able to give like I am now, either because I have to go on a fixed income in retirement or Social Security, or the Lord takes me home and I just plain can't give anymore. How would a donor advice help me in that situation to be able to fund things when I don't have the income or I'm just plain gone?
Yeah, so a lot of times folks will be sometimes they're be able to give to a ministry or something that's close to their heart, and they're in their income years, and they're making money, and of course, sometimes when we move into retirement, we're concerned we may not have enough money, and that's all possible. But if you if you feel like you can't give for a season in your life, and one of the ways that you can use a donor advised account is the understanding that I'm going to put money into that, just a part of my tithe. I'm going to put money into that or whatever. And at some point in time, it's going to take over your giving, right? I mean, and it's going to be giving that will give for eternity. Um, and let's just say that um, you pass away and there's not even any members of your family who really are available at that point in time to manage that donor advised. At that point in time, that donor advised account will then go into the main body of endowment dollars, and the grant committee from the Josiah White's Quaker Foundation will then help make sure that that continues to be given to great nonprofits that apply for grants. And in this way, I guess a lot of times I feel privileged to be a part of the foundation because there's not many foundations that have been around since 1851 that have an established ethos as well as ethic, morals, and a Christian heritage that says we exist really to help children and families programs that actually have a Christian component. And that matters because there's a lot of folks granting money out there that won't give anything to those Christian organizations. They won't. They just, as soon as they hear Christian, they're not going to support them. And that's our specialty. That's who we are. And so uh, you can feel good about the idea that if there's a point in time when you can no longer direct the funds, that the foundation will carry on that history and that heritage of those kinds of beliefs.
Sure. So let's say that I have a donor advised account and I've got an idea of how I'd like to use it to benefit a particular nonprofit or charity. Can I just pick anything, or is there a process by which things need to be approved to make sure that the charity fits the mission of the foundation?
Do you know any? I think you might know something about this, Dan. You might know something about how this works. Yeah. So here's the thing. We've been helping children and families programs since 1850. Children and families through programs since 1851. The foundation has a certain mission, and uh, and because of that mission, if you're going to have a donor advised account, it's going to be used for children and families. Now, you might have a children and family program that we don't presently support that you want to use your donor advised funds, and you're going to advise us to support that one. And when you advise us to support a program, we're going to do the due diligence to make sure that that organization is doing a good job, and we're going to pay attention to them. And we're not going to allow those dollars to go spent to be spent unwisely. And so, yes, we will do some due diligence to make sure that that organization fits the values that we have, as well as that it's a well-run organization. Sometimes we'll even come alongside and give them some coaching, help them learn how to do it better if they need that kind of thing. So yeah, there is some stipulations when you give to the foundation about how, because of our mission, how we're going to use those dollars.
So you really are partnering with the donor to help accomplish their giving goals, really is what it amounts to.
Ugh, that's the whole idea of the center of generosity is say, okay, how can we help you be more generous? How can we be more generous with you and you with us? It's a center, a meeting place of generosity.
So why can't I just do this on my own? Why would I need a foundation to do this? What is the advantage of doing it through something like the Josiah White's Quaker Foundation rather than just setting up some sort of a savings account myself? What's the
You
benefit
cer-
for you?
you certainly can. You could set up a donor advised account with a financial or institution, say Fidelity or some other organization. And in that situation, that's that that is used purely for a tax strategy, and you will be able to use it that way, and you can give away money. You can actually give away money from that to nonprofits at your discretion, all at once or over time, whatever you'd like. The difference between what we do at the foundation is that as we do go through that vetting process for you, we also become the owner of that donation, which means we have some mission, vision, and value issues to contend with and make sure that we do that vetting process well. And understanding that the corpus or the actual main dollar amount that was given to the foundation will never be spent versus with a an account, a donor advised account with a financial institution, those actually are supposed to be sent. The government has some opinions about you not spending those dollars, and so they are going to want those dollars to all be sent out sooner than later.
Sure. And typically, when a person is given something, we talk about the rate of return or um, return on investment type of thing. What kind of return is typically realized on a donor advised account?
So those are the returns that we get in our endowment. So it becomes a part of our endowment, but again, you get a percentage, and usually we run that at about 5%. So uh, most of the time, our endowment does better than 5% on returns, which means that that amount that you have to give from will grow as well. But the 5% is the amount that we it's kind of the standard amount. And so 5% of whatever you put in there, you'll be able to give out each year after it reaches $1,000.
Okay. That sounds like a fun tool because as I'm going through this in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, 5%, that means that it gives itself again every 20 years. So if you're going on forever, every 20 years, it's going to give another $1,000 or whatever it I put into it because you're not using the corpus, you call it, or the amount that was donated. So it really sounds a really fascinating tool. If I wanted to learn more about this process, what would be my next step? What should I do?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just to give us a call at the foundation. Dan, you're probably a great one, or I'm available to be able to talk about this, but we're setting up quite a lot of these, and it's a fun thing to be able to help people, be more generous.
Rob, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
It's good to talk with you.
Well, it sounds like donor advised really might be something worth looking at to incorporate in your giving strategy. And if that's the case and you'd like to learn more, you can see the contact information for the foundation here on your screen, or you can find it in the show notes for this episode on our website or the YouTube description. If you'd like to donate directly to the foundation to support what they're doing, you can find links to do that also in the show notes as well as the YouTube description. On behalf of the Quakerdale Foundation, Rob Talbott, and Partners in Ministry, I want to thank you for joining us today. And until next time, let's get out there and serve as Christ serves.